I do this. And there we go. Okay. Oh my god, it's so weird to watch myself on my phone. Welcome to today's Q&A. We didn't set a specific topic, but I did get a few questions that we're going to be covering. And if you have any additional questions, then feel free to just post them in the comments and I'll answer them on the go. Yeah, and then we'll see how it goes today. And let's pull that up. Alrighty, and I've got some long questions today, so I'm gonna read them out. I forgot to copy who asked what, but I think I give or take know. Let's start with Larissa's question because, well, she's here. And she was waiting, even last night, so I'm sorry that I forgot. I got home from group class and I had dinner and I completely forgot about it. Alright, so Larissa's question is, I would love to know how to communicate better in a two-dog household. Both my dogs have their individual strengths. One thing one dog has mastered doesn't mean the other dog has. When I tut-tut one dog for a behavior, even using their name and showing my body language is only at the one my other dog thinks he's getting told off. Same for praise too. How can I do better? So let's start with that first. I think that is just your dogs having to get used to it. I always say the name, well, you're already saying the name first. So if I have my two dogs, it definitely will go Lennox, no, right? And yeah, the other dog will hear it, but I don't think they will take it on board as much. But it takes a lot of time, I think, to just for them to understand directional cues, which is what that is. Like, hey, you should be listening to this, but not you. Um, I can't remember how old your dogs are, so it might be something that they will just have to get used to for a bit. Um, I remember when I had my dogs initially, when I had two dogs, um, I felt really bad about that at the beginning, and I tried to treat them really equally, and they don't need to be treated equally, yeah, because they haven't earned that same right. So, especially if you have an older dog and a younger dog, the younger dog does not get the same rules as the older dog just because they live in the same household because freedom and all that kind of stuff is earned. It's not given. I just realized that's an ugly background, so I'm just closing that. um, so yeah, that's something that you might want to consider when it comes to communication as well. Like, it's okay if one gets praise and the other doesn't, or if they're not 100% sure if it was for them. Um, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. Then your second part of the question. When I work them, I try to have one in place and work the other, but one is so advanced and just wants to show off. Like, I can do crawl, I show you, and interferes with training the younger, slower one. So I have my mega brain kelpie in place, box, weight position, and train my younger one. Yeah, that's a really good way to do it. If your older one keeps coming off place, it could also mean that you just put one away, put one in the room, in different room, and train your other one, and then swap them and keep swapping them around. So Louis, my oldest dog, is sensitive, so when I growl, Briggs, he literally drops his ears back, lowers his head, and shuns away. Briggs does not take things to heart as much. Guess that's its age. Yeah, I think honestly though, for Louis, it's gonna be then after that reassuring that it wasn't for him. Because you'll have to tell off Briggs regardless of Louis' reaction. So it might be something he has to kind of get used to, or if yeah, I can't tell you, I don't, at this moment, I can't think of a way that you could tell off one dog and not the other besides what you're already doing. Um, I think possibly properly separating them instead of just on a place box could really help you in terms of training. It might even be that one is outside and one is inside, or one is in the bedroom and one is outside the bedroom. And then you can do like 5 minute turns. So you're like, all right, I'm doing 5 minutes with you, and then 5 minutes with the other dog. You get a break, swap around, and then half an hour later, both have had 3 training sessions that are uninterrupted. If that's an issue, so I would possibly do that. He drops his ears back, lowers his head, and shuns away. Yeah, he might just need some building up. I'm like, you're okay, buddy. Louis, not you. Like something like that. Um, yeah, I would see if and also having a look like what are you telling them off for? Um, are they doing something together when that happens, or is it just one dog doing something in a different area of the house? Like if that's the case, then he will just have to learn to be okay with Briggs getting corrections, even though it's not meant for him. Because, well, you have to tell him at some point. So yeah, I don't know if that was helpful at all. Let me know. It's more day-to-day stuff when you catch Briggs digging. When training, Louis loves being the top of the class. Yeah, so if Briggs is digging, Louis might not always be there, hopefully. Or he might not, or is he digging with him? Yeah, and then for Louis, when we're training, he will just need to be either on a back tie so he can't intervene, or in a different room if he keeps breaking place and butting in with the younger one. Yeah, that's what I would suggest. Do you have any advice for keeping a puppy away from something permanently? She's 4.5 months. For example, when I'm working at home and she goes for the computer cord 20 times in a row and I'm constantly calling her off it. I also have a wall of books and she likes to pull those off the bottom shelves. I don't want to shut her out of my office when I'm working for the rest of our lives. We are practicing leave it and on your mat. Can you suggest anything else? Yes, I can. Restrictions are just needed at this age. She's only 4.5 months old, so she's going to get really into that chewy stage where she's wanting to chew a lot of things and exploring the world. So that either means you need to fence off the area that you don't want her to get to, or it means that yes, she is going to be locked out of a room for short periods of time. Like, for example, now my door is closed because I don't want my dogs in the room at the moment because I'm busy. I don't want to be distracted, right? Or I don't want them barking in the middle of this call. So having the door shut sometimes doesn't mean that they're going to be locked out of the room for the rest of their lives. And a lot of puppies do go through phases that they're interested in books and cords and all that kind of stuff, and that's a matter of puppy proofing your house, just like you do with toddlers. Like you either block off or you remove what you can to make sure your puppy is safe. So if you're in the room in your office and your pup keeps going for the computer cord, well, is there a way we can hide that computer cord away, or can we block it off with one panel of a puppy fence, like stuff like that? And then every now and then, if it's like super persistent and you've already got like a little drag line on her so you can pull her away as well, like, nope, we're not doing that. Yeah, we're doing the leave it, go on your bed. If none of that is working, then I introduce a proper correction. That's usually something like a squirt of water where we say nope, and then I follow it up with a squirt of water if that's something your dog finds not so pleasant. Some dogs love water, and then it's not going to be effective at all. Yeah, that can be really helpful to tell them, like, look, this is off limits, and I'm serious about it. Just saying, like, and it could even be dropping something on the floor next to them. Yeah, so it might be that you have a book on your table, and you just drop it off your desk, so they get a little startle response, just a little one. That makes them second guess going for that piece of computer code or the books. Yeah, so that's probably, like, I think you're on the right path with it. 4.5 months. They're annoying at that age. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like, puppies can be really full on and really persistent. So I would see if you can block it off. Or even put a baby gate in your door. That could also help. Yeah, so that way she can see you and she can lie on the other side of the baby gate. But she can't be at the stuff that you don't want her to mess around with until she can be trusted. Yeah, so it's all those restrictions are until she has the self-control and impulse control to manage that situation, which at the moment at 4.5 months old, it's totally normal that she doesn't. Yeah, so that's my advice on that one. Then I have a question about resource guarding dog versus dog. How should we train this? He growls when other dogs come near us. I'm 99% sure it's his kibble we have in our pockets. We bring this with us to reward his good choices. The growling has always been at times where he may have felt confined, for example, standing by a fence. Other dog rushes towards him and suddenly lunges forward with a growl. He had just been given a treat for a reward. How can we teach him he is okay if other dogs come? No one is stealing his food. So I actually don't think that has anything to do with food. I think that's just a coincidence. So the first thing that you want to do is find out if your dog does that when you don't have food on you. If that happens, then you know it's not about the kibble. But I can almost guarantee you that it's not. It's more about his personal space and not wanting other dogs near their space. Yeah, so we get into reactive. So the growling is always at times he felt confined. Yeah, standing by a fence. So that's barrier aggression. A dog rushing towards him, and he's like, dogs rushing into your dog's space. That's not nice, and your dog should be allowed to say, I don't like that, don't do that, because that's probably what your dog is doing. Yeah, so your dog probably wants personal space, and that's how he's communicating that. Now, we can teach our dog, obviously, to be more okay with other dogs coming in this space, but it's going to be like a slow progress, and we really want to ensure that's just relevant dogs. Yeah, and relevant dogs as in dogs that are actually important to your dog's life and your life. Yeah, so not 20 dogs on the beach that don't matter and you'll never see again. But yes, I want you to be polite to my neighbor's dog and to my friend's dog and my mom's dog and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, most of those things are probably insecurity. Like feeling confined means he can't get away. Other dog rushes towards him, he can't get away. Yeah, so I would say it has more to do with that, him wanting space and feeling insecure that he isn't safe or stood up for, than it is resource guarding about the kibble in your pocket. Yeah. I would say if you haven't done so already, have a look at the podcast that Laura and I did. The She Gets It Done podcast episode 1. We actually discussed quite a bit of that in that podcast, so I recommend checking that one out, because that might be quite helpful for you. Um, Caitlin says one of my dogs counter surfs so bad. All right. Counter surfing, super annoying. I can feel ya. Um, what does he counter surf? Everything. Coffee tables, tables, kitchen counters. Um, they're on YouTube. I'll share the link. Hold on. I'll share the link when I'm done talking. So if your dog counter surfs, you have a problem with impulse control. So first you need to start teaching impulse control, but also what is really hard with counter surfing is that the reward for being naughty is really, really worth it for most dogs. Yeah, so for example, my Staffy, when he was younger, went onto the counter with his front paws and ate 2 steaks off the counter. Oh wow, okay. And that's obviously like a massive reward, so they want to do it again. So your first line of defense is keep your kitchen counters clean as possible. Yeah. But I just see that you say it's not just food, it's like plastic dog nail clippers and key fobs. Um, see, Larissa also had the problem of steak being off the kitchen counter. Yeah. So when dogs see an opportunity, they're gonna take it. Yeah. So that's the first thing. We need to try and keep our kitchen counters as clean as possible. And the second thing is, has your dog earned the freedom in that area? So if you're not in the kitchen with your dog, and obviously this is really dependent of what your house look like. If you have an open plan house, you can't block the kitchen area. Yeah, then that's kind of like a useless tip for you. So if you don't have an open plan house, that's something to consider, to put a baby gate up in between the areas. If you do have an open plan kitchen, so the first thing we need to teach our dogs is that they can't come ever in the kitchen. And I would teach that with body pressure, for example. And then I'm going to set them up. That's the next part of the training. Yeah, so I set them up to fail. Well, I set them up to steal something and make that unpleasant. So a few tips for that I've had learned from other trainers is if you grab like a metal oven tray, you know, just a tray that you bake stuff on. If you put that on top of the counter, and then you put that like just on the edge, like this, yeah, and you put the food on here, and your dog will jump up, they will catch the oven tray will flip, and because it's metal, it clatters on the ground, and it gives some dogs enough of a fright to not do that again. So that could be an option. If that's not enough, you could add cutlery on top, like spoons or something. Just something that makes like a massive ruckus and kind of freaks them out, that they're like, ooh, that wasn't worth it. That could work. I've also had the tips to use double-sided tape or just duct tape, and you fold it and you stick that on the kitchen counter. Yeah, right where they would put their paws on. So they jump up and their paws land on the sticky bit, and they kind of freak out a little bit because my paws are stuck. Like, what is that feeling? Yeah, so that's another way to make it really unpleasant. And that might give them a bit of a moment to pause. Or if you can, like, these are all really good ways to do it because your dog doesn't need you to be there, because I bet your dog only counter surfs when you're not in the room. So usually if we set something up, like we put some food on the counter and we're like, oh, we're waiting, like the dog is not stupid, they know you're going to set them up. So I would usually say like a correction like a spray bottle could be really handy or a pet corrector, but generally, if you're right there, your dog isn't gonna do it. So that's why those don't always work. So those would be my first three ones. So clean kitchen counter, no access to the kitchen, um, the oven tray, and the double-sided tape. I would love to hear some feedback if you've tried any and if it was effective or not. But I must also say, for a dog that does this regularly and a lot, it's going to be really difficult to break that habit because it is so self-rewarding. It's like they're jackpotting themselves every time they do it, right? So it means that they're like, you know what, I think it's gonna be worth it to do this again. Cool, let me know how you go. Lottie says, hold on, gotta read it. Aggressive reserve guarding of toys and food with other dogs. One dog household, so hard to train as we're unable to control the environments that this issue occurs. Example, this weekend he ran off with another dog's ball and then attacked the dog when they got it back. You had to choke him out. Oh, that is very serious. We had to choke him out to get him to release. We've started muzzle training for precaution, but I would like to know any tips to get him to be able to share with dogs without the aggression. Obviously, for the time being, it will be on leash if ever toys about. Whew. That is a really complex problem, and I think your dog can just not be around resources and other dogs as a blanket rule. Is this for anything? So is this even if there is sticks? So for me, that does mean your dog does not get to be off lead when there's other dogs around. Especially if it gets to the point where you had to choke your dog out to get him to release. Like your dog would have lost all freedom and forever, basically. I would e-collar train him and get a really good recall on him, and then I would probably get a more experienced trainer than me with the e-collar to do that. So this is a really good one to ask probably Danielle Stuber about in this group. Because I am not the best person to ask. Like, I train a lot of e-collar recalls, but I don't use the e-collar very often for any other behavior issues. And it can be done, 100% can be done. I just don't really do that. So I don't want to give you any advice that is not going to be as useful. Like, if your dog has such intense resource guarding, there is this really good resource guarding course on Consider the Dog that I'll link you to. It's like an online course where he teaches you exactly how to deal with resource guarding, but it's going to be very hard to train if your dog doesn't resource guard from you, but only around other dogs. But I think you're taking the right steps, that your dog needs to be on a long line and a muzzle, and then really not be off lead in areas where there's other dogs. So for me, that's like the perfect recipe for a dog to only take him to parks where there's no one else. And then he needs to have an e-collar so you can recall him. But yeah, he has teenage stage, so doing heaps of recall and leave it training currently. He loves to play with the dogs, though. It's just with toys or food, which sucks. And then for Lottie, we'll leave it command. Yeah, leave it and impulse control is definitely something that you'll have to work on. But to get to that point, that is quite intense. And again, I'm not like an expert on this particular topic. So I don't feel too comfortable giving you like a ton of advice that I am not 100% sure about, especially I haven't seen the dog. I don't know the age, I don't know the breed. I know you said teenage stage. Um, so I would then say, all right, we need to find places where you can play your dog with other dogs, but only with people that you know, so you know they don't bring any resources into the game and no food. And then I would really work on resource guarding training, which I'll send you the link. I'll just quickly link it to you now. I'll do it afterwards. I'll write it down and I'll comment on here on your thing so I can send you that, and that'll be really good. And then if you have a friend with a dog that can just be in the same area, that would probably be a good idea to do some of the training. But he needs to absolutely let go of it. But yeah, I would say e-collar training and that consider the dog course on resource guarding. So I'll drop you the details of that after this chat. And I'll tag Danielle as well because she would be way more knowledgeable on this particular topic than I am. But I think thank you for that question. It's a good one to think about. Yeah, let me know as well, Larissa, how it goes with you and breaks for the counter surfing. If there's any other questions for me, I'm just going to do a really quick call because I think I answered everything that was asked here. And I'm going to just quickly copy and paste those questions. That's it. All right, if that's all for today, I'm going to finish today, and I really want to thank you for your questions. That was really good. I'm going to download this, put it on YouTube. I'm going to put the links in the comments to the podcast for you, Larissa, and Lottie for Consider the Dog. And then we'll go from there. Thank you so much for being here. Have an awesome day or good sleep, depending from which location you are joining. And then, yeah, see you next time. Thanks, guys.